Today we're talking about galaxies, how we can actually process galaxies in a RGB-Ha way, which means beside RGB, we also include H-alpha emissions, which show us these reddish spots. And I really liked how Trevor Jones framed it, that what we record here are nebulas in a foreign galaxy, which is quite amazing and which puts it much better into perspective than simply calling it HA emissions. So we will look at it from this example, Messier 101, the Pinwheel Galaxy, and we will do it no matter if you have a one-shot color or a monoshot. That doesn't matter at all. How we do it, right after the trailer. Hey, this is View into Space. I'm Sascha from Switzerland, so grüezi miteinander, and thanks for watching my channel. So this is the end result, but how we get to it, for that we go now into PixInsight. And here we are in PixInsight. What I have here, I have a monoshot. This is green, this is blue, this is red, and this is hydrogen alpha. I shot all that with my ASCAR SK106. For the RGB shots, I took 60 seconds exposures, and for the H-alpha, I took 3-minute exposures. So this is how it looks like when you shoot mono. If you shoot one-shot color, then you would have now one RGB image shot without any filter, or when you live in a very light polluted area with a light pollution filter. And then you would have another exposure with the dual narrowband filter. And the interesting part is that while with mono, I have now to combine the pictures together. With one-shot color, I have to tear them apart. Let me start here with the mono version. So as you can see here, I have quite a different gradient. Here it's rather weak. Here I have rather strong gradients. So I will do the gradient removal now separately. By the way, what I have already done is I have already cropped them a little bit, and just always make sure that all these pictures are registered so that they're all matching, which usually is easiest if you stack everything together. So for the gradient removal, still my tool of choice is gradient correction, not the multi-scale gradient correction, which is still way too overcomplicated, and I feel that the gradient correction works very, very nice, especially in cases like here where it's very smooth. So in principle, you start with the default. You select here automatic convergence, you select here generate gradient model, and that's actually it. Just throw it on here. When I'm finished here, it looks really even, so that's really nice. I do that now with all of them. So here we see actually here a very nice gradient, also what was expected. It's very even now, so that's absolutely usable. Same here, very smooth gradient, nicely done, very even now. And the last one. So we can close the gradient correction. Now we have actually to combine RGB so that we get the RGB picture. For that we take channel management, channel combination. We drag and drop the 3 pictures in here at the right place. R red, G green, B blue, that's fine. Click on the circle here. And in a second, we have here a very nice RGB picture. Don't delete yet the individual emissions, you will still need it. When you would shoot one-shot color, you would actually start with that. That's what you would get, beside another exposure, which would be the dual narrowband having the HA and O3 emissions combined. So in this case, what you would do, you would go up here to Image, Extract, Red Channel. And we will get the red channel in grayscale, and you will put that on the side. So you need that. With the dual narrowband picture, you would also go Image and do exactly the same. Extract, red channel. With the dual narrowband picture, once you have extracted the red channel, you can actually close it down. You will not need it anymore. You don't need the O3. With the RGB, you hang on both. So essentially, we end up at exactly the same point. What you will need for processing is an RGB picture, a red picture, and a hydrogen alpha picture. That's the three things. And now we are in exactly the same situation, no matter if you have shot one-shot color or if you have shot mono. And with that, we continue now. So let's first start with the RGB picture. So here, our next logical step is SPCC. And for that, we need a solved picture, given that we cropped it, except you used auto crop. But otherwise, we have to solve it. And to solve it, I use now, without any exceptions, always Setri Astro's Blind Solver 2000. I'm just too lazy to remember with drizzling, with everything, what the resolution, the pixel size, everything should be. If it's cropped, then anyway, you would have to take that into account. This is all too crazy complicated. I just take the Blind Solver 2000. Remember that you need the Astronomy Net API key, which you can get from Astronomy Net for free. You click on Start Plate Solve, and it does it for you. Obviously, it takes 2 or 3 minutes, but who cares? We don't have to go through all the pain of trying to figuring out and then having failed attempt of the solver, which also take time. So I rather give the Blind Solver 2000 a little bit time, but then I know afterwards it's definitely solved. And you see, after about 2 minutes, the Blind Solver has already found it, entered everything correctly. All I have to do now is click OK. And now the solver solves it and everything's fine. Okay, it's done. We close it down. We go to spectrophotometry, to SPCC. Given that it's an RGB picture, we leave the Avaron Spiral Galaxy. That's fine. We go to our sensor. That's for me the IMX571. If you know your filters, you change it. I use the Antlia filters. And if you shot without any filters, if it's a one-shot color, whatever, you just leave it at the Sony. And that's all what I'm doing. I do nothing here about the background. Usually it figures it out itself. So I just put it on there. Okay, it's done. The graph looks approximately okay. It's all within the right range. So that's fine. We close everything down. Make an auto STF again. And look at that. Looks much, much nicer. Not so yellowish anymore. Nice bluish color of the galaxy. So the next attack comes from the X-Terminators. And we can do that now in parallel, because also the hydrogen alpha and also the red channel needs some treatment of the Terminators. So I open the Terminator, the Blurx Terminator, to be very clear. I feel that my stars are a little bit still large here. Like to have them smaller, so I go with the 0.5. I also like to get the halos, which are on the control, so my 30 should be okay. I go rather aggressive on the non-stellar, so I leave it at 0.8 and I throw it here in RGB. And that looks much better now, and so we do exactly the same with the other two pictures. And the last one. Okay. Next, and I think we see that nicely when we zoom into the RGB. I think even through the YouTube compression, it's very easily visible that there's some noise, and I want to get rid of that noise. So what better tool than the noise exterminator? And the noise exterminator has made some magic. Look at that. It's almost totally gone, the noise. Really nice. So we do that again through all of these pictures. Okay. So blur exterminator, noise exterminator. So now comes the no, don't do it. There is something other people might think differently, but from my point of view, when we work with galaxies or when we work with star clusters, what are galaxies? What are star clusters? Stars, right? It's a collection of stars. It's just not good to use a star exterminator on an object which is consisting out of stars. That's one thing. The other thing is that these are bright objects. And the star extermination, the division between stars and non-stars really makes sense if the non-star part, which is usually a faint nebula, is much fainter than the stars. We want to protect actually the stars from burning out so that we can stretch them separately appropriately. That's absolutely not needed in any way when we work with star cluster or with a galaxy, because they are also bright. So from my point of view, if you exterminate stars on a galaxy or a star cluster, you do way more harm on a picture than it actually helps. Now, if you don't agree, there's a good place to state that and to explain why. And that's actually below in the comments.
Love space, love this channel? Then you'll love what's going on over on my Patreon. Behind the scenes content, early access, breaking news, exclusive tutorials, tips and tricks just for you, all for the price of a coffee. Go deeper, follow stories as they unfold, get personal support, and download all the supporting docs and data. Join our crew of space enthusiasts, support the channel, fuel the mission, and unlock a universe of extras. Links below. See you there.
So what we're actually going to do now is we do the magic to bring the H-alpha into the galaxy. Now, once upon a time, a long time ago, probably 2 years, this was something really difficult with a lot of pixel math formulas to get that right. That's not the case anymore. We have now an estimated zillion scripts who do exactly that for us, and each script claims to be the best of them all. From my experience, trying a few of them, comparing the results, they do exactly all 100% the same. So the only thing they differ is from convenience from a UX point of view. And given they were not developed by PixInsight itself, the UX actually is pretty good by all of them. So personally, I like the continuum subtraction utility of SETI Astro the best. That's my tip to you. So you open that up. It's fairly easy. You state that it's a starry picture because, as I said, we do not gonna remove the stars. You select the HA picture and you select the red picture. It states you can also take the RGB, but given you did split it off and it's just recommended, it's the better option, just choose the red one. Then also state output linear image only. We don't want to have anything stretched or so at the moment. So execute, and here we go. That's done. If we auto stretch it, we see actually what it has done. So what actually did we do here? What's the continuum subtraction? So think about it like this. On one side, we have the stars, the regular emission, the continuum glow. And on the other side, we have the specific HA emissions that we're interested in. So the red channel picture that we isolated actually represents the continuum glow. And the HA picture has both the HA emissions, but also this continuum glow. And now we subtract that we get only the pure HA's emissions. And that's what we've done now, and that's what we have in this picture. So we're not finished yet. We have now the RGB picture, and we have here this HA. So we have to combine that. And for that we use another script of another author, because in the toolbox you find a really great script for that, which is called Combine HA with RGB. Makes sense, right? So we open that, the RGB view, we enter here the RGB picture, then we enter the H alpha view, and that's now not the H alpha, that's really the continuum subtraction result. And look at that, here it is. Now you might also see that now the background also got quite reddish, and we don't want to have that. And for that here, remove H alpha background noise, you slightly move that upwards. That looks better, but not good yet. So we enter it up a little bit more. And now it's almost gone, a little bit more. And now it's good. Now we can also look here if that's strong enough. We can actually zoom in. And from my point of view, yes, that's strong enough. I even don't want to have it stronger because it should not dominate the picture. But if you would like to have it stronger, you can actually up it up here and it will appear stronger. If you're happy with it, you click here the green check mark and look at that. We have our picture. Now, as stated, this is a question about taste. You might think now that this is too strong. If it's too strong for you, go back and just put the strength a little bit down and it will be weaker. And you know, that's also if you look at the stars now, because some are scared that if they leave the stars on, when they do that, that then all the stars are suddenly reddish, which is not the case. Here and here, where we also have red, these are actually real nebulas, and they even have some NGC numbers, so that's fine. But otherwise, it's not too red, the picture, it's all fine. So the next thing we have to do now is we have to stretch the picture. So for that, we have actually to put it on dark. We go to the generalized hyperbolic stretch, preview. Again, for people who never used GHS, this is not a GHS tutorial because it's just too complex. GHS is the best way to stretch pictures by far, and I can just double and triple underline that. But it is complex and it needs some training, some understanding, some getting experience. So there's multiple wonderful YouTube videos from Adam Block, from Dark Rangers Inc. Myself, I also did one, so which you can actually learn how to use GHS. But in principle, in short, you click on plus here on the glasses, you go on top of the spike, you click send to SP, then you go here back so that you have the full range again. You go with the local intensity to a 10. You go down with the protect highlights, and then you start to stretch until it starts to move in. And that looks about good for the first stretch. We execute that. We reset the whole thing. We go back perhaps tiny little bit to the right of this peak. Send to SP. We go to about a 6 with the local intensity. We again go down here with the protect highlights and we stretch further. That's good. Execute. We do the same game again. Now I also start here to zoom in because I really want to work with the Galaxy. I don't care so much about the rest. So now I click here, for example, on this faint dust so that I see where this really is. Send to SP. Now I don't really need local intensity. I might go up to a 1, but not more. I really want to work around this area. Again, never forget here to go down here with the protect highlights, because here there is a danger that we don't do it. We actually blow out the stars. Now we go up again, and you see how nicely this dust now develops. Let's be careful not to overdo it. That looks really nice. Let's execute that. So now there's one last thing we can do with GHS. We reset again. We change here from generalized hyperbolic stretch to linear. With the low clip, we just add to the very, very end a 1 instead of a 0. Please click enter. And you see how much darker it gets now, the background, without that we clip anything. If it's too dark, you can still move it around here, a black point. But actually here I'm pretty happy with it, so I just execute it like this. And with that, we ensure that we don't have a too bright background from the stretch. And look how nice it is. Let's zoom in. So there's one last thing I'm gonna do in PixInsight, and that is the local histogram equalization, which is not a word for contrast or adding detail, something like that. We can do it on a large scale or on a small scale. So we start with the large scale. We enter here the kernel radius 150. We go with the contrast limit down to 1.3. We already go down with the amount to about 50%. Now we do a preview. If you do a preview before, you get eye cancer. Looks horrific. We again just look at the galaxy, because that's what we really care about, right? And now we look before and after, and you see it has quite a strong effect, but actually a nice one. So it's not too strong, it just adds a little bit of structure. So I execute that. Okay. Now again we zoom in, and we go to kernel radius to only 50. So really into the details. Let's look what it does. And you see again how it sharpens. And I'm not really that happy. I go way down here, and I wouldn't do it more than that. So just very slightly. Always with things like that, less is more. So, and ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's our galaxy. Can this be done even a little bit more beautiful? Yes, you can actually add it for post-processing to Photoshop, Lightroom, Luminar Neo, whatever you want to use, and beautify it up a little bit more, especially when you add it afterwards to social media. But from a PixInsight point of view, that's really nice. And that's where the core skills of PixInsight are, and for what I would use PixInsight. And the quality of the picture is more than good enough now that you can also move it like that to Astro bin. So I hope this was helpful. If you have additional tips and tricks when it comes to processing galaxies, please leave it in the description below. Always happy to learn. See you next time, and clear skies.